सर्वत्र गोविंद नाम संकीर्तनम गोविंद गोविंद। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे। सद्गुरु महाराज की जय। हरे रामेति कृष्णेति नाम संकीर्तनं सदा लोकक्षेमाय कुर्वन्तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। कलये सुन्दराकारं सदैकप्रियदर्शनम् अज्ञाननाशकं देवं सद्गुरुं मुरलीधरम् मुरलीमण्डितकरकमलं मुनिजनमोहनं व्यत्यस्तपादं वनमालाधारिणं प्रेम भक्तमण्डल नित्यकीर्तितं प्रेमिकवरदम् आश्रये। ओं पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिनां मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यास विशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः। प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तककेशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम्। लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुधा भूयात् भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसि न श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमात्मवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थित तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुराः सुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय Tasmai Namaha. Buddhir Balam Yasho Dhairyam Nirbhayatvam Arogata Ajatyam Vakpadutvancha Hanumat Smaranat Bhave. Sadguru Maharaj ki Jai. With the immense grace of our beloved Guru Maharaj, Maharanyam Sri Sri Muralidhara Swamiji, and by the causeless mercy of Sri Madhuri Sakhi Sameta Premikavarda Thakurji, we are exploring a very important chapter in Bhagavad Gita called the Bhakti Yoga, or the 12th chapter. Yesterday, we got a small introduction about Bhagavad Gita Shastram, and also Bhagavad Gita as a part of our Itihasa, Mahabharata. Today, let us enter into Bhakti Yoga, holding the feet of our beloved Master. As we said earlier, Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters, 700 slokas, 574 slokas were recited by Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and 84 slokas serve as the questioner's portion of Gita, which is our Arjuna's question. And Sanjaya speaks 41 slokas, and Dhritarashtra just merely asked the first question: Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yutsava, Mamaka, Pandavaschaiva, Kimakurvata, Sanjaya. And the answer to that is Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurtaraha, Tatra Sri Vijayo Bhutir, Druvani Tirmatirma. So the first sloka of Bhagavad Gita is a question by a person who could not see physically, and it is question to a person who could have an extraordinary vision of seeing things which didn't happen before his eyes. In fact, he was blessed with a divine vision. Here is a person who can't even see what is in front of him, and here is an answerer, which is Sanjaya, his own charioteer, who could actually see what is happening in a distant field, and it was blessed by Vyasa Bhagavan. This is typically how a Sishya approaches a Guru, where a Sishya has two types of blindness. One is he can't even see what is drishtam properly. Even this world is not seen properly. And then what to talk about adrishtam? That has to be instructed by a Guru. And finally, the question is, there is Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. This Dharma Kshetram, the Kurukshetra is the place where most of the wars were fought for Dharma. And he is asking Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetra, what is happening? And it has also a very spiritual connotation. Our body is the Dharma Kshetram, and our mind is actually the battlefield of the Arma and Adharma, and the forces of spirituality and others, where five bright positive forces of spirituality are the five Pandavas. They stand for Dharma, which is Yudhishthira, Bhalam or strength, which is Bhima, and Valor, which is Arjuna, and Nakula stands for Jnana, and Sahadeva stands for Vairagya. So these are the five forces which helps us, which guides us towards our goal of life, which is divinity. And there are 100 forces of distraction, 100 forces of spiritual distraction, which is what is called evil, and which stops us from attaining victory or jayam in this field called the body and the mind, and in this samsara, transmigratory existence. So that's the beauty and the spiritual connotation of the first question. And the answer is always given by a Guru Maharaj who has a divine drishti. He can see things beyond. He can see the spiritual field. And we need somebody who is awake to that field to take us there, isn't it? And that's what our Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the charioteer of Arjuna, is going to enlighten Arjuna. Here the beauty is, if you allow the charioteer seat to be taken by Bhagavan, we are safe. And see the beauty, the questioner is always the one who is sitting in the chariot, which is the Jiva. And the answerer is always a charioteer. Sanjaya is the charioteer or the one who runs the chariot of Dhritarashtra. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna chose to be the charioteer of Arjuna. And this has a very significant Upanishad implication. In Kathopanishad, it is said that 5 horses are the horses of our senses. And these 5 horses actually get the information from this world. And the controller of the horses is our mind. The reins are the mind. And the mind should always be controlled by intellect or buddhi, which controls the sense organs through the agency of mind. And if we allow this chariot called the body, controlled by the buddhi, to go in the right path of dharma, then we can attain Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And generally, buddhi should be guided by divinity, not by worldliness. And so the charioteer becomes Bhagavan himself. So we ask Bhagavan, Aham yantro rishikesha, tvam yantri kilakesha. That is Sharanagati, where we offer the chariot of the body to Bhagavan to be the driver so that he takes us in the right direction. And I need to be like Arjuna, a jiva, sitting in the chariot, enjoying the journey because it is being run by Bhagavan. Even our Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to sing this concept of Sharanagati, this Gita Shastra. He used to say, it's a lovely song, a traditional song in Bengal. Shakali tumhare icha, icha moye tara tumi, tumar karma tumi karo ma, loke bole kare ami. Ami jantra tumi jantri, ami rata tumi rati, ami gara tumi garani, ami rata tumi rati, jaman chalo timni chali, sakali tumhari icha. This everything is your icha. It is by your will. Let thy will be done, Krishna, and let thy will take me to wherever it needs to take me. I am merely an instrument. You are the one who operates this instrument. I am merely a chariot. You are the one who is driving this chariot. Wherever you want this chariot to be driven to, I completely I completely want you to take this chariot to where you want it to go. And it's all your icha, and only people say that I am the doer. I'm not the doer. You are the doer. Aham yantro rishikesha, tvam yantri kilakeshava. Sharanagati Shastra of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And we are now going to enter into the first yoga is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And generally, as we said yesterday, unless we get these fundamental questions running in our heart, the fundamental question of existence, why am I here? Am I doing the right thing? Only when we think about something, we are confused, isn't it? So Arjuna thought about something and he was confused and he was sad. And Bhagavan offers him refuge. Asocyan, don't worry. And the Gita Shastra starts with the refuge of don't worry to the last verse of Bhagavan is Masuchaha. So if you want, Gita Shastra is also a Shastra for us to go in the path of happiness and peace. So it starts with don't worry, be peaceful, be happy. And it ends with don't worry, peace be unto you, and be happy. You see how? By taking the refuge from Bhagavan. And so we have different yogas. Before that, we need to understand what our Upanishads are actually talking about. Our Upanishads are talking about something very significant before these ways of worship of divinity with a form and name and leela started happening. Those days, how they used to approach Karma Yoga used to be that it is my duty. I am born. I've been endowed with all these capabilities. So it is my duty to do what is told in the scriptures for me to do. Let me do it as a duty in the spirit of serving humankind. And so, if the work results in sorrow or joy, I shall be indifferent to it because it is my duty. It is done as a seva. The very fact that I'm serving, very fact that I'm doing the duty is enough for me. I don't want anything else from it. That used to be Karma Yoga. And the path of jnana used to be a little more intricate. So I thought I will just show you a little bit. How do we actually look at what happens around us is, we have the objects of this world. And the objects of this world are basically constituted with 5 basic elements: space, air, and then fire. And then we have water, and then we have earth. It actually results in 5 types of sensations through the 5 sense organs. The space gives us the sensation of sound. The air gives us the sensation of touch. The fire gives us the sensation of rupam, form, color. And water gives us the sensation of taste. And the earth element of whatever we see in this external world gives us the sensation of taste or smell. Earth is smell, water is taste. If you see, all these are insentient. These are all, can I use the word non-living or non-conscious? And then I am perceived by the sense organs. And once I perceive that by the sense organs, the next step is, what I perceive is thought by the mind. Oh, this is badam alwa. Oh, this is gajar ka halwa. Or this is an incense stick which must be coming from jasmine. Or is it real jasmine flower itself, etc. The thought is the mind. And it is cognized by chitta. Chitta is the place where analysis happens. Chitta is the place where the lot of memory is stored. So whenever I'm smelling a mango, I take back my mind to the memory of the past and try to correlate it. The same smell I had 5 years back. Oh, that must be a mango. So this is also a mango, etc. So cognitions, or rather arivardu, is done by chitta. And then the buddhi does the determination that yes, it is a mango. Or yes, I shall go to the shop today, come what may, determined by buddhi. Now, if you see, objects of the world are insentient. When I say insentient, the equivalent of the word is jadam, right? And the sense organs are also jadam. It is very simple, because anything which is an instrument which helps me to do a job or to gather a knowledge, any instrument by nature has to be jadam or insentient. And so is the mind. So is this thing called chitta. So is this intellect called buddhi. Everything out here is all insentient, jadam. I hope you are with me on this. It's an instrument. When I say I hold a tongue to hold a small apple with a tongue, or with a clasper or something, the clasper is insentient. It's an instrument which makes me hold it. And imagine, an organic instrument is our hand, and a robotic instrument is a tongue. Both are instruments. They are jadam. They are not conscious. And so if you go to the next step, if what I perceive is determined by the mind to be pleasing to the senses, I call it joy. If it is otherwise, I call it sorrow. Now, this, which is insentient, is using that sense organ, which is also insentient, to the objects of the world, which is also jadam. And then it comes to these determination. But the whole mischief starts because this whole block out you see out here is not I. It is only instruments which somehow get associated with I through this link called ahankara, the I-ness. But where is the real I? Atma is not like that. It is totally unconnected with all these things. Which means that when there is a sensation of sorrow, I am not happy. It is my mind. The moment it becomes mine, it's not I. It is my mind which determines it is joy. It is my mind which determines it is sorrow. And I am completely unconnected with all this. I am consciousness. I am by nature joy. I am by nature conscious. I am by nature ever existence. And there is no death for me. There is no birth for me. I am eternal. Is what really that Atma is. But then some mischief happens between this white block and this yellow box, you said. And that's what is called ahankara. And so the original jnana marga, the original path of wisdom used to be understanding this in 3 steps. First, I hear this tattva, I hear this principle, I hear this truth from a guru, and it's called shravanam. I listen. Here is a wrong word. I should have used the word listen. And I listen from an authority who lives this principle. So that gives me a conviction that this is possible. It's called sambhavana buddhi. It is possible by me also. Just by reading the book, obviously it won't make much impact unless we already have done something in the past lives. We hear it from a living source of this as a part of their life, as their very life itself. And then I do deep reflection. I think about it. It's called mananam. And then I embrace this principle every second practically in my life. That's what is called nididhyasanam. Let me give you an example. I hope you can see this block out here. When somebody talks harshly to me, for example, I hear it as a sound, right? That sound is a dead sound. It is insentient. And my own ear listens to it. That's also an instrument. My mind listens to it. And then it says, somebody is chastising me. Somebody is rebuking me. Who can rebuke Atma? Because if there is a second person out there, as mind, as sense organs, as chitta, or maybe even as buddhi, we are different. But as Atma, as conscious principle, there is no difference at all. So when somebody else is rebuking me, actually, I am being rebuked by something which is not conscious at all, which is insentient. And if I am upset by something which is insentient, I can't be verseful, you see. Let me give you an example, something which you can relate to. I'm walking down a road and suddenly I see a stone and then I hit the stone because I saw it only after I get hit, okay. Then I look at the stone. Would I have a grudge against the stone for the rest of my life? If I have a grudge against the stone, then I'm not intelligent, isn't it? Stone is an inert object. It's a dead object. What is the point in me being upset with an inert object? Remember, the stone and all this yellow box stuff are only difference in a small degree. Everything is jada. As a conscious principle, I am no different from anybody else in this world who's so-called living. If I have somebody talking to me, it is that person really is Atma Swarupa. I am also Atma Swarupa. There is no difference there. And if somebody is talking harshly to me, how a person who is in this state of nididhyasana should work is that this is the product of mind. Mind is not me. Mind is not him. Him and I are one in this principle of consciousness. And if I get upset because something which is insentient is provoking me, I am not a greater fool. So let me not even get connected with this. I am that conscious principle. I am nowhere related to all these things. Constantly living this by constantly reminding ourselves, all this is jadam. It is not me. It's not even mine. And I am that Atma. This is what is Nirguna Jnanam. This is what is the upasana or the worshipping of the formless aspect of Atma Swarupam. You see, that's what people used to do all the time. And then they dig a little further. I can't have two Atmas. I can't say I am different, you are different. Because all these differences has to finally unite in unity, isn't it? Everything in the matter has to unite in a fundamental particle. Every life force in this world has to unite in a fundamental life force. Every force in physics has to unite in a fundamental force of physics. Once we come to that unitary principle, then we have attained the highest. And as consciousness, there cannot be pockets of consciousness. As consciousness, there has to be only one principle. There has to be only one. Logically, and also it is there in our Vedam, that Ekam Sat, that which exists is only one. There can't be multiple existence. If there are multiple existence, it has to finally abide in that one unitary existence of consciousness. So they finally decided, if that Atma, the Swarupam or the principle of Atma in me must be that Brahman, it must be that universal consciousness. As consciousness, there cannot be 2 pockets or 3 pockets or 4 pockets of consciousness. Just like even space cannot be split into space of America and space of India. Space is one. I perceive space from here and think from my viewpoint, it is my space. Vyomavat vyapta dehaya, it is said, na? So Vyoma, or the space, is only my conception that this is my space and your space. Even in a jada, which is space, there is universal oneness. Imagine something as conscious as Atma, it all has to be one. And so they came to a conclusion that one existence is Brahman. And I need to somehow dissolve all these imaginations about that which is not consciousness. It's called Atma, Anatma, Vivekam, and throw everything away and find my identity in that universal consciousness. This was what is Jnana Yoga. See? And as we are trying to figure out, this was not easy. But then came the good news, that which is universal consciousness also has a form. It can also take a name. And just like how that consciousness cannot be killed, cannot be born, that which is never created can never be destroyed. Na? That which is always there, consciousness is always there. Likewise, that universal consciousness called Brahman could also take a name and form if somebody appeals to it. And then came this worship with duality, that I am the servant of that universal consciousness which has taken early form and name, which is Bhagavan. And that's how Bhagavan Sri Krishna descended. He is no different from Brahman. Brahman is Krishna, Krishna is Brahman. 2 sides of the same coin. And it offered a new possibility of worshipping, of submitting, and of ensuring all this happens not by my efforts, but the amount of love I have for Bhagavan makes me forget all these distractions of Jadam. When I am constantly listening to Krishna Katha, when I am drowned in the joy of Krishna Kirtan, when I am completely inebriated with Krishna Smaranam, then what happens is the whole complex of all these Jadam becomes totally immaterial to me, because it is immaterial. And immediately I understand that love which I have in my heart, that takes me to the state of realization of Bhagavan. So in the earlier state of Nirguna Upasana, the result is self-realization or Brahma Sakshatkara. And for a Bhakta, it is Bhagavad Sakshatkara. Since Bhagavan and Brahman are no different, both cases, liberation is 100%. Upasana for me, when I am doing Bhakti, is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Hosmaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. The important thing being Atmanivedanam. That is what Bhagavan keeps on insisting. And that Atmanivedanam is called Sharanagati. So whether we do Shravanam, it has to lead to Atmanivedanam. Otherwise, the path is not complete. If we do Kirtanam, it has to lead to Atmanivedanam, which means I totally give everything up to Bhagavan, who is none than the universal consciousness. Out of the love I have, out of the amount of attraction I have for Bhagavan, the amount of pull Bhagavan exerts over me, I want to give everything up for him out of that love. And when I give everything out, that connection between the so-called samsara and me is totally cut, because now I am not belonging here. I don't want to work for this. I shall work for you and you alone. And that's what is Atmanivedanam. That's what is called Sharanagati. Bhagavan keeps insisting that every now and then, saying that if you do Nirguna Upasana, I can give you only outside support. You have to work out your own salvation. You have to work out your own liberation. You have to work out your own realization. It's a long journey, but if you're ready for that, it's there. Even people who do Nirguna Upasana. Nirguna means one devoid of name, form, etc. Just consciousness. How we do Nirguna Upasana, I will again tell you tomorrow, don't worry, because it's a little intricate. But then for those people, they are on their own. But for a bhakta, because of the love, because of the appeal, that same consciousness, which is Brahman, takes a name and a form out of its own will. And then it starts doing anugraham, which means it says, I shall take care of you because you have given your everything to me. And that's how this upasana of worship of Saguna came into being from time immemorial. And this, when we actually appeal to Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Bhagavan says, since you have submitted everything to me, I shall be your driver. I shall take care of you. I shall ensure you reach. And both leads to the same goal, either surrender or we inquire. And beyond a point, it will lead us to a door called Samatvam. You see, we are all seeking two things. We are seeking joy and peace. And that castle of joy and peace has a door called Samatha. Samathana, equanimity. So equanimity means not get distracted by all these ripples caused by this yellow box. And that equanimity can be attained in two ways, by inquiring into the truth of who am I, or by surrendering to that truth which is Bhagavan Sri Krishna. When we surrender, we are surrendering all this to Krishna, and obviously Krishna being Krishna makes us realize that this is not real. And then he takes us into his fold. Or you inquire, like we just showed you, go to pieces. Generally, when you resolve things into its constituents, the fascination will reduce. I'll give you an example. Suppose we have something called a very good peda, for example. Peda, or you let us take kaju, katli and all that, very healthy things. When you see that and taste it and think about how sweet it is, then attraction comes. But if you look at kaju katli and say, what is this? Cashew nuts. I don't like cashew nuts as it is. Sugar. I don't like sugar. Maybe some milk there. I'm not very fascinated by milk. It is merely a compound of all these three. The moment I see that way, my fascination for that object stops, because I see it as only, these are all, what is it? Sugar, cashews, milk. What is a big deal? That's all. Likewise, fascination for things which we see are merely dead five elements. They are the compound of these five elements. Individually, these elements don't give us any fascination. And that's why in Bhagavatam it is said, if you are so attached to the body, look at its constituents and you won't be. Dehe, asti, mamsam, udiram, abhimati, tyajatvam. What is this body which we are so careful about? What is that which we want to protect our image? Nothing but a bunch of flesh, blood, bones, skin, and apart from that, all these horrible things which are we ourselves feel very repulsive. But then it's all inside us. The moment you see that way, the fascination for the body or the image I need to carefully protect, etc., becomes immaterial. See, and that is the reason why there are two paths of worship shown by Bhagavad Gita itself, shown by our own Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself. And the two paths of worship are the worship of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, or the inquiry into Bhagavan Sri Krishna's Swarupam, which is Brahman, Brahma Vicharam, which is no different from Atma Vicharam. And when I hold on to this, I hold on to that. When I open my door from my little house, the entire infinite space is also open to me. Do you get this? Till I have a locked room inside, I think space is only this. But the moment I open the door and realize outside sky, first time in my life, suppose, I realize infinite sky is outside. Would I think space inside my room, space outside my room? Outside is big, inside is small. I realize space is infinite. Then I lose the identity of space inside the room, space outside the room. I see space. Finish. Although Atma, Brahman, both are conscious, I realize its identity. You see? And that's what is Nirguna Upasana. And our Ramana Bhagavan very beautifully explains that. How do you do Nirguna Upasana? There is something called Upasana. We all understand realization that everything is one. But how do I do worship of it? For me to worship, the mind has to hold on to something. Na? And our Adishankara Bhagavad is going to actually define dhyana, define upasana, what it means. Upasana means I need to hold on a thought of the truth in my mind without a break, like pour of oil or flow of Ganga. How can I think about that which is formless? How can I think about that which is having no qualities? How can a mind hold on to the thought of consciousness? Is it possible? How is it possible? Very beautifully, Ramana Bhagavan says, thinking of consciousness is abiding in it. Let me give you an example. There is an Upanishad called Kenopanishad. In that it is said, how do I use the mind to do Brahma Vichara? Is that which I see cannot be Brahman, but by which I see has to be Brahman. So how do I see? What is the eye of my eye? Kannukku kannai, kannindri kanunai, kanuvar ever paal, Brahma Vichara. Which means the eye doesn't see by itself. There is this consciousness which lights the eye to make it see. So instead of focusing my attention on that which is seen, I want to inquire what makes me see. How come this bunch of flesh is giving me this wonderful scenery outside? What makes me see? What is the eye for my eye? What is the eye-ness in my eye? And then your mind drops that which is seen and inquires into who is seeing this. That which is seen cannot be the truth. That which sees has to be the truth. How do I see it? You see, inward. And that's what our Ramana Bhagavan says is Atma Vichara. And our Swamiji has explained that very beautifully. I will tell you in Tamil, I will tell you in Sanskritam, I will also tell you in English. வெளிவிடயங்களை விட்டு மனம் தன் ஒளி உருவோர்தலே உந்திப்பர உண்மை உணர்ச்சியாம் உந்திப்பர திருஷ்யவாரிதம் சித்தமாத்மனகா சித்வதர்ஷனம் தத்வதர்ஷனம். This mind naturally is running out through this mind is running out through the sense organs and is trying to see the world. Here our Ramana Bhagavan says, when you get a sensation from the world, don't focus on the object which gives you the sensation. Don't focus on the sensation itself, but ask, how did I get this sensation? What was the cause of this sensation? What was the cause of this thought, which is the sensation? So where did this thought arise from? And then turn your mind inwards. Inwards na enartham? Mind trying to seek its source is what is called as Atma Vichara or Brahma Vichara. And so this was the Nirguna Upasana. And how do I do Upasana? Instead of holding on to that source of my mind, the mind abides there. And abiding the mind in its source becomes the Upasana for Nirguna. Nishtas, people who are in the path of inquiry, people who are in the path of Jnana Vichara, has to make their mind abide in the source by first cutting off all this attention towards things which are external and then inquiring into, I am getting the thought, who is getting the thought, I am getting the thought, who am I? And again, pull that mind to its source. And the only way for the mind to do the worship of the formless is to abide in consciousness and silence. You see, and that's what is worship. And having the nishta or having the wanting to again and again make the mind abide in that source becomes the worship. I hope it's. So now Bhagavan has told both these types of stories. The both paths he has shown. Mostly he talked about how the mind has to abide in the Atma or consciousness for us to get the Samatvam, because the Equality can be seen only when we see from the base of equality. Na? Okay. What I meant is, suppose I'm in India. And for me, the fellow Indians make no much appeal to me. Why? Because now I'm an individual, they are all individuals. The moment I move out of this boundaries of India, suppose I'm in Iceland, and suddenly I find somebody who looks very much like a Madrasi, wearing veshti, wearing kurta, and wearing vibhuti or kumkumam or whatever. Suddenly, that person whom I wouldn't have even cared about in Chennai, because my perspective is I'm no longer in India. Now, anybody who is an Indian, I feel that oneness with them. You get what I'm saying? Suppose I settle in Mars. All I see is only rocks everywhere. If I even find one living object, I suddenly feel the oneness of life because my perspective has changed. And now I'm seeing through the platform of oneness. And for me, if I am in the house, that sense of oneness is only between my family members because my perspective is this is my boundary. Within that, anybody who has the oneness of they belong to my family becomes very dear to me. They becomes one with me because my platform of oneness is family member. When I go to the road, it becomes friends, acquaintances, etc. becomes that oneness. Anybody whom I knew before, I have this platform of oneness through which I see it. If I go to a different city in Bombay, anybody who speaks Tamil, suddenly I feel that oneness, you see. If I go out of India, any Indian, I see that with the platform of oneness, that I am, that in the identity of mine is now Indian, because I'm out of India now. And the moment I am out of Asia, any Asian, I see it in the platform of oneness. And like that, if I go to Mars, any living being becomes one with me because I'm living, you are living. So I'm seeing with this platform of one. It's called samatvam. You see, samatha. Samatha. So the door to peace, the door to that joy is samatha. And two roads has to merge there. Even in bhakti, it has to go through the door of samatvam or samatha, where I see the oneness. In the path of enquiry, because everything is consciousness, I go through the path of samatha. You see? Now even the world, when I am a person with ignorance, I see diversity and I see this whole Jada world. The moment I become illumined and a jnani, I don't see Jadam at all because I'm not Jadam. I don't have this ignorance of Jadam. So I see everything as Vasudevan. I see everything as consciousness. Nothing changed in this world. The way I saw it is different. The veil of ignorance is gone. So I see consciousness everywhere. Everything is a play of that one consciousness. And that is what is these two paths converging. The path of Nirguna Bhakti or Nirguna Upasana Bhakti. And our Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada beautifully fine-tuned the word Bhakti as Swaswarupa Anusandhanam Bhakti Reva Uchya. That Anusandhana or the Nishta or the constant seeking to make the mind abide in the soul, abide in the consciousness, Swaswarupa Anusandhana. That becomes bhakti for people who are in the path of Nirguna Nishta. For people who are in the path of Saguna, it is Krishna, 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 listening, etc. Now the question with our Arjuna is asking in the 12th chapter is, Krishna, you said people who travel the path of nameless, formless inquiry into the truth, either Atma Vichara, Brahma Vichara, whatever it is, you said they attain you. And then he's going to show Vishwarupa Darshana to tell, Vishwarupa means a cosmic form of Bhagavan. And he's going to tell Arjuna, Arjuna, if you do every act of yours for me, if you think I am supreme, and if you want me as the goal, and if you love me with all your heart, you shall attain me. No, Bhagavan has shown two distinct paths now here. Now, Arjuna wants to know not the difference between which is greater, jnana or bhakti. Never. That's absolutely a wrong question to ask. That's not what Arjuna is asking. Arjuna is asking the path of devotion, the path of devotional service to you, Krishna, who is Parthasarathi, who is Chaturbhuja Vasudeva, who is also Virat Swarupa, doing worship to your name and form. Do those yogis who are seeking the truth in that path, do they know yoga better? Or are they more adept in yoga? Or people who worship in form of seeking the truth of consciousness? The people who are doing inquiry, they also attain yona. So are they a better adepts or better knowers of yoga? Tesham ke yoga with tamaha, not tesham ke yoga with taraha, with tamaha. Tell me who knows the supreme path of yoga, these two. Which of them you think is a better knower of yoga? See, that's the question. We have to do all this introduction to see the significance of Arjuna's question. And this is a very important question because he's asking who is the best knower or best practitioner of yoga? The one who does worship in form of bhakti margam, or one who does the worship in form of jnana margam. Both have not realized. Both are seeking to realize. Both are only paths. So he's asking for a person who is still traveling in the path, which of these two persons who are traveling in two different paths are better practitioners, or better knowers, or better, yoga vittama, better knowers of yoga. You see, that is the beauty. And it's a very important question because each chapter when we end, what do we say? Om Tat Satiti, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Shu, Upanishatsu, Yoga Shastre. This whole Shastra is Yoga Shastra. So since the 18 chapters, 700 slokas, everything constitutes the scripture for yoga. This question somewhere in the end of, in the start of 12th chapter is a significant question because the entire Gita Shastra is Yoga Shastra. And here Arjuna is asking who knows yoga better, who practices yoga better, and Bhagavan is going to answer. And so the entire Gita Shastra's answer is there in our Bhagavan's answer, right? So it's a very significant question. And generally, people divide Bhagavad Gita into three parts. The first 6 chapters talks about action, karma, which is all there. It's called karma shadgam. Shadgam means 6, the group of 6, samuha of 6. The first 6 chapters, primarily, of course, it talks about jnana bhakti also. Primary focus of the first 6 chapters is how do you look at karma? How do you manage karma? How do you do karma yoga? How do you use karma to uplift rather than drown in transmigratory existence? The second 6 chapters, which is from 7th chapter to 12th chapter, is called Bhakti Shadgam. It talks about devotion. It talks about bhakti. And the last 6 chapters talks about jnana. It is called Jnana Shadgam, or wisdom is the last 6 chapters topic. So here, at the culmination of Bhakti Yoga, or the Bhakti Shadgam, our Bhagavan Sri Krishna is talking about Bhakti Yoga. And here, instead of telling us the details about how to do Bhakti, which we have to find out from Bhagavatam, Bhakti Sutra, etc., he talks about the general outlines of this path of Bhakti, and he's talking about how much that Bhakta is very dear to him. Yo me Bhakta samay priyaha. So that is the significance of this question. Now, where did this question come? And what led him to this question is what we will see today, right? So the first 6 chapters, he talked about Karma Yoga. Most of us know Karma Yoga, but I'll give you a very short brief. Karma Yoga means Karmanyevadikaraste. We do it as for a person in Jnana Upasana. Karma Yoga means I have this body, I have Prarabdha Karma, till this body drops and I understand, realize myself, karma cannot be escaped. So whatever comes to me, edrichaya, unasked, I shall forbear. Titiksha, I shall forbear it. Why? Because these are the intermediary stuff which I have to forbear so that my goal is attained. So for him, karma is done as a duty. Karma is done as a seva. And he's constantly saying, let all this work with all these. I am totally disconnected from that. Like a witness, I shall do what needs to be done. And when I said, when somebody is rebuking me, for example, I see that the rebuke came from insentient mind, from a different insentient mind. It is affected by an insentient mind of mine, which both are jadam. Oru jadam, unnoru jadata adichirukku. You see? And because of that, I am not going to be bothered because that which is jadam is actually creating a problem for me. And if I take it is my problem, then I am accepting jadam as chaitanyam. And this is how every moment awareness of when somebody is rebuking, what is it? It's just sound waves coming from a jadam. And it is received by another jadam called my ears. And now it is collected by the mind. And mind is going here and there. What is this mind? It is also jadam. I am unconnected with all these things. You see? Practically speaking, if you have a sharp object in the road, naturally you will move around and go. Na? So even those people who are following the path of self-inquiry won't want to be rebuked by people. They will find their way to protect themselves. But anything which happens in their life don't leave ripples in their mind, because for them the mind is also jadam. That mind which created the rebuke is also jadam. And I am chaitanyam. And if at all there is another person standing out there, the real swarupa, the real intrinsic truth of that person is also the same chaitanyam. I am no different from him. If my own teeth bite my tongue, whom should I blame? What should I do with it? I just forbear it, right? Can I curse my teeth? Then I realize teeth is also me. Then tongue is also me for ajnani. Even for an ajnani, when the tongue is bit by the teeth, who will chide who there? So I have to forbear. So, likewise, he understands that teeth is also a part, tongue is also a part. Teeth, which is his mind, and his words, is now biting tongue, which is the mind and the words or the listening capacity, which is associated with me, but I am not going to be associated with it. Bridang karma, you see. First, and for a bhakta, karmanyevadikaraste mafaleshu kadachana means I shall do karma because my beloved Lord is filled with love. He has done so much for me. He has filled me with so much kripa. I shall do karma for his prityartham. Why? Because Bhagavan said, Shruti Smriti Mamaiva Ajna. I have ordained you to do all these things as per the scriptures. Out of the love, out of the respect I have for my beloved, I shall do karma, not for me. And I shall execute the karma with a clear cognizance that it is Krishna Kripa which makes me understand things. It is Krishna Kripa which makes me work. My hands work because Krishna as Antaryami is inside. So by Krishna Kripa, I shall execute work. And the fruits of the work, why should I want? I'm doing it as Krishna Seva, Krishna Arpanam. Finish. This is the first 6 chapters in the viewpoint of Karma Yoga for a Upasaka or a person who is following the path of form, who is following Saguna, who is following devotional service, Bhakti Margam. And I already told about Jnana Margam. And now for Bhakti for Saguna Bhakta is the real Bhakti, where he says, Krishna is beautiful. I shall constantly sing him. Krishna is compassionate. I shall constantly remember his compassion. For a person going in Jnana Marga, for him it is purely, how do I constantly abide my mind? I passionately, with devotion, seek the source of the mind, not as a who am I, but as a passion, but as a devotion. And I want to know that spirit of inquiry, that thirst of inquiry, that's the viraham for a person going in the path of self-inquiry and jnana. And now these 2 paths meet in the door of the truth. And Bhagavan is both Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and of course the Swarupam wise, Brahman is Krishna. Krishna is Brahman. The same Brahman, when it wants to bestow grace onto a devotee, takes that name and form and then blesses. That name and form which the Brahman takes is also eternal. Brahman obviously is eternal. And that is the beauty of these two paths. Both, Bhagavan puts a tick and says, both attain me, but both don't attain in the same way. This is what is called Kaivalyam or Atma Sakshatkaram. And this is what is called, Sarupyam, Salokyam, etc., where we want to do eternal service to this lovely little Krishna in the joy, where we cut all this out. And as just a small jiva, I still want that separation so that I can serve. You see, both are liberating. Both leads us to moksha. But the moksha state is where people debate. Okay. So as of now, let us assume this is Kaivalyam. Kaivalyam means absolute merger with universal consciousness, no identity, nothing. And this is what is called Vaikuntham or Golokam, where I am as a conscious being serving Bhagavan. Because this will never be solved by logic. It has to be only attained by experience. But then both lead to liberation, no doubt about it. End the same. But whether this state of liberation is greater, that state of liberation is greater, and Ruchi Beda. Depending on which philosophy you follow, what our Acharya says, we have to go. You see. And Bhagya Bedam also. And so here the question comes. First is, in the 11th chapter, we have to find the continuity to the 12th chapter, isn't it? In the 11th chapter, Bhagavan showed his Viswarupam, that Bhagavan's cosmic form. And then Bhagavan says, Arjuna becomes very frightened, shivering. That experience he couldn't bear. He thought it was his friend. He put his hand on his shoulder. Suddenly, Bhagavan showing Vishwarupa. And he says, please become normal. Normal for Bhagavan itself is divine. Na? So Bhagavan is saying, after Bhagavan became a Patsardi with Chaturbuja, our Arjuna is saying, now only I feel normal because now I am seeing your normal form. Bhagavan said, Are Arjuna, you think this form is also easy for people to see? Right from when I am sitting in my mother's womb to Rukmini Kalyanam, to this moment when the war is happening, all the devas are chasing me to have darshan. Sudu darshanam. Even this darshana is very difficult because it has become easy for you. Don't rate it any less. The Chaturbuja, Vasudeva form, or Dvibhuja, Sundara, Krishna form is rare, as rare or even more rare than the Vishwarupa form. You see? So he said, Na agham vedaihi, na tapasa, na dhanena, na cha ijyaya, shakya evam vido drashtum, drishtavanasi mam yata. Bhaktya tu ananyaya shakyaha aham evam vido Arjuna. Now this is where it comes. He says, not by any other means you can actually behold, not even Vishwarupa form, even this form. Patsarthi form is also rare, Arjuna. It's only by devotion you can have my realization. You can have my darshanam. You can have my sakshat. And so you do everything for me. So give all, you are all for me. Do Atmanivedanam. Then I shall be available to you very easily. This is the trigger for the question. Is this path, the people traveling this path, do they know yoga better, which is the path of enquiry, or the path of sweet devotional service? Which of these two paths is superior? Superior. Yoga Vittamaha asks Arjuna, not in the end, at the final goal, nobody is even debating that. It is the path. And Bhagavan is going to use one logic to say which is greater than the other, even though both lead to the same. And we shall see those shlokas from tomorrow. This introduction was very important. And what I would request you is, please think over that. Thankfully, there is a recording also available. This is not pravachanam, it's not katha kalakshepam. This is serious philosophy. So for people who seriously want to get it, I would certainly request you to think about it and send your questions so that I can also use these questions and ask our Swamiji for answers. It's a good chance for all of us to get clarified about the paths and about the joy of our path so that we understand why we chant, we understand why we do worship, we understand why we are in a satsang. And this Vedantic ways can make us better human beings also. Sarvatra Govinda Nama Sankirtanam Govinda. Sadguru Maharaj ki Bhagavan Mukha Jate Amba Parikrita Bhava Bhite Bhakta Jana Kridishite Amba Jaya 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 Gite Amba Jaya 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 Gite Bharata Madhya Gate Amba Badarayana Katite Bhakti Jnana Virakti Nide Amba Jaya 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 Gite Amba Jaya 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 Gite Brahmadika Sura Vinute Amba Premika Bhakti Hite Pavana Padamagite Amba Jaya 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 Gite Amba Jaya 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 Gite Kagena Vacha Manasendrirva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Swabhavat Karomi Adyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanaayeti Samarpayami. Sadguru Maharaj ki Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare